Hey everyone, it's James. Before this episode gets started, I should let you know we were suffering from some technical issues early on. So for the first 10-15 minutes, there's a bit of lag and a bit of glitching. There's not much that can be done about it, unfortunately. But once we get that all sorted out, the rest of the show runs smoothly. So please bear with it. It's a fantastic conversation, definitely worth sticking around till the end for. But yeah, the first 10-15 minutes just a bit glitchy. So I thought I'd give you a heads up. Enjoy the show. This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by a sponsor, just like always. I am still, however, collaborating with Tyler Hansen and Harley Bronwyn to support their upcoming fan film, Scream the Fan Favourite. If you would like to support their project, please visit the Indiegogo campaign, or you can also learn more about the project by listening to episode 28 of the podcast. As little as $5 can make a huge difference, so please give them a hand if you can. Enjoy the show. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. And this is the final Halloween episode. October is at an end, and we've got one more interview before we move back into, well, I don't know what November's going to bring, a bit of this, bit of that. But we have to end with only a couple of days left until Halloween on a very spooky note. So, of course, I've brought back a listener favorite, one of the most popular downloaded episode guests of all time. It is, of course, the wonderful Gabby Van Cuylenburg.
Hey.
But when I spoke to Gabby leading up to this episode, she informed me she's not a huge fan of scary movies. I was like, well, obviously I want you on because you're a great guest and a great talker, but we need someone to bring some power, some fandom of horror. And she informed me that her partner is a huge fan of horror and a huge movie fan and a bit of a fan of the show as well, which is obviously very nice to hear. So please welcome for the first time, Andre Balsari.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, both of you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, it's really good to have you back, Gabby. And Andre, we only really just met a few minutes ago, so it's going to be a fun ride. But yeah, so Gabby, it's been a little while since we spoke, but obviously not a huge fan of horror films, but you've been giving a bit of a go lately. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, when your partner is, it's one of his favorite things, and when you're sort of like new into a relationship, we're not like brand new, but new enough that you're trying each other's hobbies and you're taking an interest into what the other person likes. I've had to dip my toe into the pool of horror movies, and to be fair, Andre is very patient with me because there are so many caveats that I place onto watching a horror movie. For example, the light has to be on.
Yep.
I'm allowed to hide my eyes at least 30% of the time. I have always read the plot of the movie before watching it because I will still get scared, but at least I know what to expect. Like nothing's going to shock me so badly that I'll never sleep a wink again. And I have eased off that because Andre thinks that it's ruining the movie.
Yeah. Well, the first time we watched a movie together, and she did hide for a fair chunk of the movie. It like to me, it was kind of like, reading about 60% of a book and then just saying, oh yeah, it wasn't that great.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the movie, out of curiosity?
It ends up on his list.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll save it for later. Look, my wife, obviously not a huge fan of horror. A few episodes ago when I talked about the movies that scared me most, we told a bit of a story and how she basically lied to me when we first started dating, that she liked monsters and horror, and I think it was more she liked the idea of it because I was like, oh, great, well, then we can watch all these movies. And halfway through Hills Have Eyes, she was like, I'm done. And I wasn't sure whether she meant the movie or the relationship. Thankfully, we're still together.
Maybe she just, fluffed the truth a little bit because she had a crush crush on you.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely.
They'll sound cool.
I mean, look, I definitely lied about, I didn't tell her I was a picky eater. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll eat anything. And that's far from the truth. So we all, put our best version of ourselves
You
forward.
made her famous Brussels sprouts salad and you were like, I'm done.
Exactly. But at least you're giving it a go. And now that I understand what Tina does and doesn't like, I can recommend things for her. And that'll happen with you as you venture more into horror and stuff. And Andre understands more about what you like. Like I just said to Tina before we start, I was like, hey, Halloween's on Monday. We're going to watch a Halloween movie. And she put together a list. And there are some horrors on there, which I was really impressed with. So,
oh, good.
We'll probably end up watching, something that's less of a horror film, more of just like a fun movie. But that's okay. It's not about being scared. It's just about, getting in the mood and the season of it all.
That's it.
Now, Andre, as I said, we haven't really spoken much, but obviously a big film fan. When did it start for you?
Well, I guess my earliest recollection would just be old school Disney movies on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had that's still one of my favorite movies of all time.
Which one was that one? Sorry, it literally cut out when you gave away the title.
Aladdin.
Oh, perfect. That's one of my earliest films as well, Aladdin. So
it's so good. It's so good, and you can't go wrong with Robin Williams.
Yes, absolutely.
And then eventually we upgraded to a newfangled DVD player, with the CDs and stuff. No more of this, rewinding the tape back and whatever. But yeah, like I've always been a massive fan of movies. For me, what really makes a great movie, a lot of it comes down to the music.
Yes.
To really grip you. And it gets your skin crawling. It travels up your spine. And sometimes I'll just go on YouTube just to rewatch certain scenes of music because the music is just fantastic, and I'm just like staring an inch away from my screen, just like, oh my
God. No, absolutely. Like obviously it all comes together. I'm a big film score nerd. Like I remember when I used to work at JB all these years ago, I would one of my first jobs was just sitting in the stockroom wrapping DVDs, and I would just have my iPod plugged in, and I would just play film scores. And my boss, who's still a dear friend to this day, would just rip on me constantly, calling me a nerd and stuff like that. And I was like, "What? Like, yeah, I'm going to listen to the entire score of Daredevil season 1, and that's what I'm going to do. And you can call me a nerd, but I'm digging it." Like, I remember one of the first scores I think I bought was Sin City, because it's just so like groove driven and like funky, but also like dark and twisted, and that was one of the first ones I was like, wow, this is awesome. I just love the way this makes me feel.
There are certainly worse things to listen to than a movie score.
Yeah, like a little show called I Was a Teenage Film Snob. Self-burn.
I think I really fell in love with movie music, and I know this is going to sound cliche, but Lord of the Rings, man.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, like I still find myself like looking up the score on Spotify today and just listening, and it's weird because I kind of feel creepy when I'm just like swaying my head in the car, and I'll just get a traffic light, and I'm sure the person next to me will be thinking, "What the hell is he listening to?"
I mean, as a guy who had like a terrible hatchback at the age of 18 and would just crank metal tunes out open windows, there's no judgment here.
Andre still does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do as well. Like whenever I get the car to myself, I'm like, all right, time to relive the glory days. That Lord of the Rings score is genius. Like the ring race theme is just perfect.
But my favorite will probably just be the Shire one. I forget what it's actually called. I don't know if it's actually just called the Shire. But even in the movie, when you see Gandalf, I don't know, and like entering the Shire on his wagon.
Yeah,
and it's got that beautiful, what I think would be a flute as the main theme. It's just a beautiful tune.
It's very whimsical, which is what you want for that setting.
Yeah.
with as you said, him riding in on the cart, and then obviously Frodo showing up and him firing off the little fireworks and stuff for the little hobbits and stuff.
Everything's so hopeful and nice.
Cut to like 10 minutes later. I think it was Howard Shore, if I remember correctly. Who you don't hear people talk about that much anymore. Obviously, Zimmer gets a lot of love, and Michael Giacchino now, who's done a few superhero ones. He did the Batman, he did a couple of Spider-Man films and stuff. They're getting a lot more attention, and John Williams, obviously a classic, but Howard Shore, like, you can't discount him. That score is wonderful.
Oh, it's iconic, and it's funny that you mention it because, like, Andre saying that he, like, the music makes the movie for him. I am very much similar, and when we first started talking, I mentioned that I had gone to see Hans Zimmer for my birthday, and he actually had gone as well.
Oh, wow.
So, like, we didn't know each other at the time because I think it was 2019. But I was just like, oh, okay, I found my people.
It's funny you said that because one of the first concert I ever went to, this is not film score, but it goes to my, I guess, like my kind of punk and emo roots, was Green Day, supported by Jimmy Eat World and My Chemical Romance in 2005.
What a dream.
Yeah, 2005. And my wife was at the same show as well.
Really?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember like when I was talking to her, when we were talking about music and stuff, because clearly she was an emo girl. She had jet black hair and a bright red fringe. Like, there was no mistaking.
A girl my own heart.
And when we were striking up conversation at uni and stuff, I talked about that being my first show. And she's like, oh, I was at that show. I was like, were you? Because there were a couple. Like, I went on the very last show of the tour, like, bragging like a douchebag. And she's like, no, I was at that show. I was like, oh, cool. So
that's crazy.
So if that is the only thing you base your relationship on, you guys will be together forever.
Yeah, like, as long as there's more Hans Zimmer, then I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of similarities. First show at the same time. One really likes horror films. The other one is trying their best not to be too scared. I'm seeing it. Excellent.
Sorry, you just cut out.
Oh, the internet is being a little bit rough here, but we should be okay.
Press on.
Press on indeed. Now, obviously, Andre, you're a big horror fan. So obviously we'll try and steer away from the list for the time being, but where does the interest in horror begin for you, and what is it about the genre that you find so appealing?
It's like, more recently, it's about finding a movie to scare me. Not just jump scares, but that slow, intense burn of really feeling terrified, where you're like, fetal position up against the corner of the room in comfort. Something to really, really get under your skin and just like eyes wide open, like, oh my god.
Okay, freak.
I love that. I love that feeling, but there is one particular movie that I will never be able to watch again. Well, I'm sure I can now, but just to make as a point to myself, to never watch again, because it scared me so much as a kid that I don't think I'd be able to go back to it.
Oh, what is it?
That movie would be The Grudge.
Sorry, which one?
2004, The Grudge.
Oh, I've actually never seen it.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
My only experience with that movie is through Scary Movie, like one of the Scary Movies. So to me, like, I always thought it was kind of funny because, like, and that's actually where I've had a lot of introductions to horror movies, is just seeing the spoof version on like a Scary Movie. And so then I'm like, oh, well, I know the storyline. I don't have to watch it now. I can somewhat relate to what people are talking about. But in that one, Cindy like sees The Grudge, and then he starts saying, like, speaking in Japanese, but all he's doing is saying Japanese like brand names, like Toshiba, Kawasaki, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay.
Yeah, Scary Movie is one of those flicks that did ruin a lot of horror films for me for a while. Like, I loved those movies when I was a teenager, but when I came to watching Scream for the first time, because I didn't watch that since in my 20s, I was kind of like, oh, like, Scary Movie ruined this for me. But then I rewatched Scream a couple of weeks ago, and the flick holds up and is terrifying. So I just had to give it some time to get back to it. But Scary Movie does, and those kind of spoof films do take some of the sting away. But now I'm very interested to watch The Grudge because I've never seen it, and knowing that it has such a profound effect. But also, if you saw that when you were young, like 2004, I'm a little bit older than the two of you. In 2004, I would have been 16, I think. So you guys would have been
like 9.
Yeah, like no wonder you're terrified.
Yeah, like I can't remember exactly how young I was. But we rented it from the local milk bar. But back when they were still renting DVDs, and my friend. My friend Jay and I were watching it alone. Again, I can't remember how young we were, but we were quite young. And we thought, hey, let's watch a horror movie. Let's scare the crap out of each other. But the movie itself, the monster. That's not what terrified me the most. It was at the end, after the credits. We were just talking, and then all of a sudden the television screen went red, right? I'm guessing that's just part of the ambience of after the film to scare the viewers, but it terrified us. And it made like a loud screeching sound. So both Joe and I ran to the very end of the house, literally holding each other and shaking in terror. I'm just guessing we're about 13 or 14, holding butter knives, staring at the hallway, to try and defend ourselves on what could possibly come around the corner. And I'm on the phone to my mum, crying like, "My God, she's like, what the hell is going on? Like, we were home." I absolutely put her through the ringer that night, and it's
interesting you mentioned the ambience, because you're right. Like I was thinking about this earlier today, or it might have been yesterday even, about when I go and see horror films in the cinema. Because I don't see a lot of horror films in the cinema. It depends, but being very snobby when I was younger, I would steer clear a lot of them because a lot of them weren't very good, or I felt that way at the time. But when you go see a horror film in the cinema, even though it should be the exact same experience as in the film, for some reason there is a almost sinister feeling about like they've set this up in a way to make me a lot more scared than I would be if I was watching this at home. And that red screen at the end is definitely part of that. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. We're it's sort of cut out there a little bit, so we got bits and pieces.
I've got a message on Zoom saying my internet connection is unstable, so we'll see how we go.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Alrighty, we're back. We had a bit of a glitch there. The good old internet letting me down, but it seems like it's fixed now. Fingers crossed. But what I was saying was I'm in full agreement with you, Andre, where the ambiance is such a huge thing, and just it always seems to be different with horror. Like if I go and see any other film in the cinema or watch it, in a dark room at home, I have no problem. But the way it's set up just feels like there's something a bit more sinister going on. Yeah.
Well, I recently watched Smile with my friend Sean in the cinema, look, it's got some horror elements. Again, it's got like more horrific elements towards the end. But aside from that, it's not your typical horror movie. It's got some fantastic jump scares, because they're few and far between. Again, that could also be because I was in the cinema and everything's very loud and and much more in your face, which definitely could have amped up the experience itself. Seeing something in especially a horror movie in the cinema, very different compared to lying down in bed half awake in front of your TV in your bedroom.
Yeah, and when you've got that cinema sound, obviously they can play with depth perception as well. Like they can do kind of Foley behind the right hand back corner, but then they're playing music from the front, and they can really kind of play with your surroundings as well.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but brilliant. Sorry, what was that, Gabby?
Sorry. Just before you move on, I was going to say it's weird that you mentioned that, because I was just thinking it's kind of a double-edged sword, because at home, if you watch a horror movie, you start off and you're comfortable, so you feel safe. But you've just watched something so scary, then you're like, oh my gosh, can I even go outside this room? Do I have to turn on every single light as I walk past just to get a drink of water now, because something could pop out at me? Whereas if you go and watch a horror movie at the movies, it's terrifying, but like you exit and it's the middle of the day and it's sunny, and then you can sort of detach and just do something else. So
that's a really fascinating point. I've never thought about it out loud before, but you're absolutely right. If you watch a horror film in cinemas, with the exception of Hereditary, which, geez, that ruined me for a while. But you're right, if you leave the cinema, you're like, oh, and it's over. But if you're at home, especially if you're watching it at night in bed, you're like, well, this is where I'm going to die.
Like, cool. I should have invested in nappies because now I can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I remember, and I think I talked about it a few weeks ago. I was talking about the movies that scared me, like The Descent and Hills Have Eyes in particular, were ones that I watched at home. And I was like, well, I have to turn on every light just to walk 3 meters because at any point something could come out and get me. And I'm looking over my shoulder.
And then like run like Napoleon Dynamite back to your room.
Yep.
I mean, I run like him anyway. So
Same.
But I don't have the same dance moves, unfortunately.
Same.
I've never thought about that before, but I'm really impressed with that observation, Gabby. Like, it's a really good point. Yeah, look at you snobbing it up. I appreciate it. That's what we do here. Well, actually, I try to like everything. But going back to Smile briefly, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't had a chance to get out and watch it, but I've heard nothing but brilliant things about it. And that trailer creeped me out. I thought it was going to be a stupid film. I was like, this is like a stupid film. And then I just like, it sounds dumb to say, but that smile is so haunting and unnerving because they just don't break their gaze.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy Christ! Like, I'm scared from a trailer.
Without spoiling anything, the movie isn't what you think. Like I said, it's got some horror elements to it, but it's like from what I gathered, it's not just a straight up horror movie. It delves more into the human psyche of trauma. And
I love that.
And that's where it gets the name from, Smile, because the whole point of the monster is trauma, and the movie really tries to push forward the idea that it's not right to try and smile through everything and trying to save face because that means you don't deal with your problems.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's really.
Yeah, and then they turned that into a horror aspect, and that's where essentially the monster from the film gets its power from.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that horror is becoming more cerebral, and not that it never was. Like, I love a mindless slasher where people just get hacked to bits and all that sort of stuff. But I like this kind of new wave of horror films where they're going a lot more into the mind, into the psyche, and playing with real world problems and events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even the last Halloween film, I haven't seen Halloween Ends yet. I know people hated Halloween Kills, but I loved it. And I loved it because it was a film about trauma. Like, it's not a horror movie. It's a film that's like, hey, this guy, this shadow's been over your town for the last 40 years. You're going to have to deal with it, or you're just going to die. Like, so start dealing with your trauma. And I loved that.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, it does sound like one that would probably be more palatable to me. Like, the idea of a slasher sounds like, okay, like I can just deal with it. It's just like there's a guy coming to kill you and he's a real person. So it's a bit less scary than, something that could potentially be real, but you can't see it with your own eyes type of thing.
Slashers are generally more fun. Like, there are a few exceptions, like the Halloween films probably aren't particularly fun. They probably lean into the horror more, but like your Friday the 13th, your Nightmare on Elm Streets, your Hatchet films, things like they're a bit more silly, a bit more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't. From my recollection, I don't think I've ever actually seen any of the original Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, but I have seen Freddy vs. Jason.
That was my first one as well.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
really? Yeah. Yeah, like I watched that movie to death when I was an early teenager, or whenever it came out. Because I knew the two characters from the movies, even though I hadn't seen them. But they're both horror movie icons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I was like, oh my god, Freddy versus Jason, yeah. And I just watched the crap out of it, and I thought it was just so much fun.
It is, and it's really underrated. People don't don't hold that film in much reverence because it is quite campy and silly, but that's what I wanted,
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't even a fan of the franchise at that point, because that was my first one as well. I just, again, like, the characters were so iconic. I just loved the character design of Jason. I'm like, well, I want to see him fight Freddy. Like, that's cool. But that film is a lot of fun. There's some weird stuff in it. There's some weird dialogue choices, some slurs that you wouldn't be putting in films today. But
Yeah. It's a bit of a product of its time.
yeah, I mean, kind of. It was 2004. We should have been better than that in 2004, or 2003, sorry. But it is, yeah, it's very much a 2000s film.
Yeah.
I was going to go somewhere and I've completely lost my train of thought. We were talking about slashers. Oh, no, what I was going to say is the only slasher that does not look like fun at all, but apparently is doing very well, is the new Terrifier film. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one.
Oh, is that the one with the clown face?
Yes.
It's this guy, and he looks like one of those like pantomime clowns, like with like a black face, but like white as well, and like a white sort of like jumpsuit with a black hat or something, and he's got this really gross, scary smile.
I would say the scariest movie clown I've seen in my life.
Yeah, he looked fucking horrifying. Oh, sorry. Terrifying.
You can swear on the film. It's on the show. It's all right.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be not swearing. But yeah, he looks so scary, and I don't know why it's coming up on my suggested watches because I don't know what I've done to deserve this, but it keeps coming up, and I just keep seeing like little clips of the movie, and like I keep seeing like, people are passing out and vomiting watching it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then like I've seen somewhere like a description saying that it's such an intense build up, and like it's not so much that it's gory or anything like that, but it's very spooky. And I'm like, yeah, put that in the bin. I don't want to watch this on my Saturday. Get out of here.
I've seen the first one, and the first one I found to be incredibly violent, but not much substance. They weren't really focusing on story, where apparently this one they've really fixed that.
Oh dear.
But the first one, like the final kill was basically a woman strung up naked, upside down, cut in half.
Okay.
And yeah, it was full on. Even like and this is pre-kids for me, but even for me, I was like, oh, this is a bit full on. But apparently, this new one cranks it up a notch. So it doesn't look like a good time at the cinema, but apparently it's quite a good movie. So
I'm trying to recall the movie. It was a slasher one as well. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember one scene that really freaked me out. They cut some dude in half, and then stuck what looked to be like a mermaid fin on his bottom, and then sewed it onto him.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
That's it. Thank you.
Love House of a Thousand Corpses.
James is really good at guessing these things. The other day,
that's Dwight from The Office who gets the mermaid tail attached to him.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Rainn Wilson was in it.
I think Jim's prank went a bit too far.
I was going to say, yeah, James is really good at guessing movie titles, because the other day I was asking someone about their favourite horror film, and she was describing it to me, but she couldn't remember what it was called, but it sounded like The Hills Have Eyes. And I then couldn't remember The Hills Have Eyes, but I could remember the plot entirely because I had seen that far too early in age. And I called James in as my resident movie genius, and he got it straight away. And it wasn't The Hills Have Eyes, it was something else. Yeah,
but she goes, no, it's the one where they're in Tasmania. And I was like, oh, Dying Breed? And she's like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so I mean, like, if you ever forget the movie title, we know where to go.
Most of the time. I mean, I did famously fail or get some questions wrong when Josh interviewed me about horror films a few months back. So, look, I don't have a perfect record, but I'm doing okay.
No, that's okay. The only one I remember that you got wrong was Pet Sematary, and I actually got that right, and I got a lot of the other ones wrong, but I felt like so elite.
I hadn't seen Pet Sematary at that point, so it sounded a lot like Poltergeist to me. But
yeah.
Oh, Pet Sematary. Josh and I were talking about that last week, and I was just like, it's such a bleak film.
Dark, yeah.
I haven't seen the remake yet. I was thinking about it until I saw the original. I was like, oh, I don't need to live through another version of that. Like, I've got a toddler. Like,
I've seen both of them, and the newer one, it's very similar, but it's like just new. So everything looks more real.
okay.
And yeah, so what's the guy from that show where he's like something like from Mars? It's like an older sitcom show.
Third Rock from the Sun?
Yes.
John Lithgow?
Yes, it's got him in it. He's the
Lord Farquaad from Shrek.
Yes, yes, he's the neighbor.
Oh, great. Oh, that's a really cool casting. I like that a lot because Fred Glynn, who was the original neighbor, was Herman Munster. That's where he kind of and also the judge in My Cousin Vinny. But John Lithgow's a good pull. I like that.
Yeah, he's good.
I just had to like really establish my cred after admitting I got something wrong. I was like, let me just drop all these references.
just sprinkling them.
We should jump onto your lists. I'm really excited to hear what you both got. Now, Gabby, obviously I know you a little bit, so I kind of have an idea of where you might be going, but Andre's going to be a complete surprise for me, so I'm really excited. But we'll go 5-1. Now, did you go scariest films or just horror films that you like?
I did films that scared me the most. Like I did it in the same order as you did, so like in order that I watched them.
Nice one.
Yeah.
And I did just horror movies that I like.
That's fine. There's no rules in the show. I set rules, but I break them constantly. Nice one. Well, Andre, you're the guest. You're the new one, the newest person to the table. So we might start with your number 5.
So my number 5, even though it's at the bottom of my list, it's still a great movie for me. It's The Conjuring 2.
Oh, wonderful.
I actually have seen that.
Really?
Yes.
How did you get through that?
I did. It was very difficult, but I have seen that one.
That is a great flick. Has the weirdest needle drop where they play London Calling by The Clash in the first 15 minutes. And I think this is the one where Patrick Wilson sings Elvis, which I was so out of place, but I loved it. Tell us all about Conjuring 2, Andre.
Yeah. So effectively, you start with Lorraine and Ed Warren. As it being portrayed by Vera. I'm trying to remember her name. Vera Farmiga and
Vera Farmiga, yeah,
and Patrick Wilson. And they come to the famous I think it's the Amityville Haunting house.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. To investigate hauntings and stuff, and the house is essentially taken over by an evil spirit, like who's haunting the family, and it's just like it's such a good horror movie. It feels more like a slow burn than the first one, the first Conjuring movie, but it's so well paced. It
almost plays like a drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's there's that romance story, and Harley talked about this a few weeks ago because she put the first Conjuring on her list. It's that romance story of this husband and wife, but then obviously she's having this premonitions of herself dying, and you keep thinking that's where it's building to because Jesus Christ, like why would they keep showing it happening unless it's going to happen? Introduces some pretty important characters to the Conjuring universe. Obviously, the nun makes her debut, which we were talking about Art the Clown from Terrifiers before, but the nun also one of the
similar face actually.
It's that very rigid nose and those hollow eyes.
Oh.
Yeah, like a real beak of a nose.
Yeah. And this might sound really horrible about the actress. There's fireworks going outside. If you can hear that, I'm not sure. I don't know why, but there's fireworks going on. The actress who plays the nun looks very similar to the nun herself in real life. And I was like, oh, well, that's going to haunt me anytime I see her in an interview now.
I thought you were going to say she's really pretty.
She is. She is lovely to look at, but also like hauntingly beautiful.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But the one thing they didn't do with the franchise that I keep waiting for is there's an even scarier villain in Conjuring 2, and that's is it the Crooked Man? Or Jesus Christ, like that thing.
That's scary. Like I remember, like it's like he's sitting in the corner and like the breathing, it just like it made my chest feel heavy.
And he shows up in like the tent, I think, if I remember correctly. And that gave me some really strong Sixth Sense vibes, because there's that moment in Sixth Sense where Haley Joel Osment's under the covers and Misha Barton is terrifying. And it reminded me of that a lot. Now, I'm interested to know, Andre, why? I mean, obviously, I don't know the rest of the list. Like the first Conjuring and maybe if Conjuring 3 show up, I'm not sure. But why does 2 make the list over those ones, or why particularly this film?
Well, like I said, it's the pacing of the film, and the twist ending at the end, where throughout the whole movie you think it's a particular spirit haunting the family, but it shows at the end that there's actually another more sinister, more evil spirit controlling another spirit to sort of hide behind. And that scene where I forget what they are, but they're in the Warren home, and the painting that Ed had painted of the nun, like the shadow of it travels around the room slowly until it finally gets to the painting, and you can just see the eyes are just a little bit lit up, insinuating that like that's not the painting anymore, it's the actual nun. And I was just like
yeah, I'll be honest, like I'm just taking a couple of shallow breaths myself, so I'm like, Jesus Christ, that is terrifying. I forgot about that. And
the darker it gets outside, I mean, I will be honest, we are in a brightly lit room right now with the light is on, and there's also a candle. But I know for a fact it's nearly 9 p.m. It's dark outside, so I'm getting a little nervous.
That's happened every time I've done a night recording of the Halloween stuff. It's been like that. Like Tina and I ended the episode early. She doesn't know that I ended early. I think I told her afterwards. It's like I could tell she was getting more and more scared just talking about the films. And it happened again with Josh and Nick. I was like, all right, we're going to wrap this up because this is getting too scary. I'm going to have to watch some Simpsons or something to just feel okay to go to sleep.
Yep. We're probably going to have to watch Star Wars or something.
Oh, what a shame.
No.
Yeah, I have to watch Spider-Man Far From No Way Home again. Damn it.
Oh, right.
All right. Nah, damn it. I think I've watched that flick 3 times this year, and it's definitely coming up again in November for me.
It's so good.
Nice one. And now, have you obviously seen the first 2 Conjuring films? I'm going to guess you've seen the third one. I haven't yet. I'm really slow. Have you gone into the other areas of the universe? Have you jumped to Annabelle? Have you gone to The Nun?
I haven't seen any of the Annabelle movies. But I did kind of, well, not force Gabby, but like shown Gabby the Insidious movies, which I don't think are part of the same universe, but they're done by the same director, by James Wan.
Yes. So separate universes, but James Wan is an absolute genius.
Oh, so good.
Like every franchise.
Aquaman 2 as well.
And the first Aquaman. Yeah, so he's doing both Aquaman films.
Yeah.
He did. So he started with Saw, then he did Dead Silence, I want to say, which I haven't seen, but is meant to be quite good.
Oh yeah, I know Dead Silence.
The Insidious franchise, which I haven't watched, but I've got the first Insidious film sitting there to watch, and I might be watching it on Halloween actually. Mm-hmm. He did Conjuring. He didn't do Annabelle. He did Fast and the Furious 7. He did Aquaman. He's done and Malignant last year, which was one of my favorite films of last year. Actually, Malignant's a very weird, strange film and very kind of corny in places, but I loved it.
Are him and Patrick Wilson like
buds?
These because he's in a lot of his films.
Yeah, he played Orm in Aquaman, and he's been he's been in a lot of James Wan's films. Not the Saw franchise, interestingly enough, but James Wan I think only did the first. He only did the first one. I thought he did the first 2, but he might have just done the first one. But he's kind of redefined the genre of horror mainly on his own over the last 15 years. And he just keeps playing from strength to strength, which is great.
Yeah, like I would have put the first Conjuring movie here instead. But like I said, just for me personally, the pacing was better. The scares were more intense. A lot of it was just a bit more of a build up. And and just the story itself, with the little girl essentially having to frame herself on camera, so the reporters would think that the whole thing is a fake one, but she's doing it to protect her family.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I enjoy the first one more, but the second one's definitely scarier.
Yeah.
That is a great way to start the list. Gabby, what's number 5 on your list?
So since we've been talking, I've actually changed one of them, but it's not the first one, so that's okay.
That's fine.
So the first one on my list is The Others, with Nicole Kidman.
I've never seen The Others because it looks very scary.
It is scary. Like, so essentially, it takes place, like, I think just past during World War One, I think, where, you know, it's a wife and her 2 children in this massive house, and the husband is away at war. And that she gets these 3 servants, well, not servants, that's, I don't know, people to work in the house, I guess, and on the out in the gardens and stuff to help her with the house because it's so big. It's like a big estate home. And her 2 children are like really sensitive to light, so all the curtains have to be closed all the time, and they're homeschooled. And they start noticing like the presence of like other people being there. And like the children keep saying that they've interacted with a boy, and like or an old woman saying like, you know, this is their house, like we need to get out and stuff like that. And so the mum, who's quite religious, she sort of like dismisses it at the start, but then she starts noticing things as well. And like, I don't really want to spoil the whole thing, but the movie did come out in 2001, so it's, you know,
it's a 21-year-old film. It's old enough to drink in any country.
Yeah, right. So like, you know, you go through all these like scares, and then, you know, the husband comes back, but then he leaves again, and so you're just like, well, hang on a minute, like what's really going on? And you see the mum's slow descent into madness of being like, well, hang on, like, no, there's not ghosts. This is our house. Like, who are these people? Oh, the kids are just sort of winding me up here. And then she finds out that there's like a cemetery sort of like linked to the house. She's like, I'll go to the groundskeeper. I'll go check if there's any kids by that name that are on the gravestones. And then they come back, and then, you know, she's like looking through this book, and it's like a book of the dead or something, and it's got pictures of the 3 people she's hired, but like they're dead bodies.
Ooh.
And it's because like from like 1840 something, so like 100 years ago. And she's like, you know, this can't be real. And you find out at the end that, in fact, the family are the others, and a new family has moved in, and they're the actual ghosts in the house.
That's a great twist. As you said, before you even got to it, I was like, I bet she's about to say that they're the ghosts.
They're the others. It was like, and it was so suspenseful, the whole movie. Like, you know, after about 30, 40 minutes of when the things start happening, my body was so tense. By the end of the movie, I had a headache because I had been clenching my teeth so hard and like recoiling into my own body. And you know, people give Nicole Kidman a bit of flack for seeming almost robotic a lot of the time, but she plays a wound up white woman so well.
I was thinking about that. Because I saw a trailer for something that she's in, like on an SBS series or something earlier this evening, and I was like, you know what? I really like the Nicole Kidman. I never really gave her much of a thought when I was younger, but everything I've seen her in recently, I was like, she's great. Like,
yeah, she's really good. I mean, like, you know, as Australians, I feel like it's like almost the like you'd be un-Australian not to mention Australian actors or actresses and say how great they are. And, you know, we try and claim other countries' actors as our own, such as like Russell Crowe and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, you know, she plays her role. She's always very committed. You know, you can tell that she's really in her role. You're not sort of like, oh, she's not very believable. Like in this role, you could see the descent into madness. And when you find out like they're the actual ghosts, you also find out like why they died. And so it's like you can see that situation playing out with the character that she's playing. So yeah, that one was scary. And like I think I watched that when at a, you know, girly sleepover when I was probably like 13 or something, when I definitely think I was watching it.
Oh yeah, you would have died.
Yeah, so like, and because my best friend, she also loved horror movies, and you know, when she started dating her current partner, they've been together for nearly 7 years. They went through all the horror movies on Netflix, all the horror movies on Stan, like all of the streaming services, just to see which one would scare them both the most. And so she used to do that to me when we were in high school, and I would force her to watch a comedy afterwards because I couldn't sleep knowing that that was the last image in my head. So, yeah, that one was scary.
That's a strong entry. I haven't seen it because it looks so scary. I always think about that moment in the trailer where she's approaching, is it the rocking chair or the crib or something? Yeah, like that. Just that image alone. Like I wish I hadn't said it now. But there's something about late 90s, early 2000s horror films. Like we were talking about The Sixth Sense just before, and obviously the others. But then like even The Ring, like there's, I mean, obviously The Ring's a remake. So I understand it's an adaptation of a Japanese.
I stayed so far away from that because everyone that I was at school with who had watched it when they certainly weren't supposed to, you know, they'd hidden it amongst the 7 weeklies you're allowed to borrow from the DVD store. And their parents have, you know, sort of been a bit aloof when paying. I was like, no, everyone was at school talking about it, and I'm like, no way, I'm not watching it, sorry. And they'd like try and tell me the story. I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
That was one of those ones where I would have conversations, because that was pre my interest in horror as well, and my friends would kind of talk me through. And it's interesting, you talked before about how you'll often look up the plots of horror films just so you know what you're in for. Yeah. I've done that with films in the past, and I feel like your imagination is always going to be worse than what's on the screen, and often I've built films up to be worse than they are.
I have done that, yeah.
But The Ring was one of those ones where it took me a long time to get around to watching. But then when I watched it, I was like, you know what, this actually isn't too bad. Like, again, it was parodied in, I think, Scary Movie 3, so that helped.
That was the only time I haven't gone near it. And I'm like, oh, like this seems like kind of interesting, but not interesting enough for me to watch it.
Yeah, like interesting. I'm glad it exists, but I don't need to watch it.
That's it.
The others is, as I haven't seen the others, but that is a strong entry. And like, even though it's going to terrify me, I think we have to go sit down and watch it now. I've watched other films you recommend. I finally sat down and watched Dead Poet Society, so maybe the others will be the Dead Poet Society of creepy films.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Probably not. Let's jump back to Andre. I'd love to know what the next film on your list is.
Alrighty, so this is one that I think you've talked about before. It's Sinister with Ethan Hawke.
What a film! One of the scariest films I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I watched it. I think I watched it back in 2012, or maybe in 2013. My friend Zach introduced me to it, and yeah, when I watched it at the time, being 10 years ago. So, 10 years ago. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's a scary movie.
Now I haven't seen it in a while, but I still hold it as one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Especially with Ethan Hawke. Like I know he's the main character and he's the one mostly on screen, but he carries that film so well.
Yes. And that was his first real horror film, I think, as well. And now he's been doing so many things. That was kind of his gateway to horror. He just, obviously the most recent one being The Black Phone, which I think I'm going to pick up tomorrow and watch. But
That's a good movie.
I've only heard good things, and it's the same director, Scott Derrickson, who did Sinister, also did Black Phone. So,
oh really?
Yeah, so it's them reuniting. But yeah, like obviously the snuff films are horrible.
Yeah.
And the lawnmower one in particular is quite shocking.
Oh.
But the thing that I think about the most is it the boy? Is it the son's like hyperventilating, or he's in a box or something, or there's like I can't remember what it is. He's like sleepwalking and he's like struggling to breathe. There's something that happens in the middle of the night, and the boy, maybe I'm getting confused with another film, but like it's really scary. And I can't remember what it is now. And now I feel like I've lost everyone.
Oh, I haven't seen it, so you haven't lost me. I'm just in for the ride.
There's a moment, and I feel like it's his son is like having like an asthma attack, or maybe there's like a spirit walking through there. I can't remember what it was, but
well, it's going downhill because, like I said, I haven't seen it in a while, and now I can't even remember what you're talking about.
No, it could be another movie. I've seen a lot of movies. Yeah. I feel like it was Sinister though, but I remember that being particularly scary. But just that opening shot of the family hanging is like, holy Christ.
Yeah. Like like all the snuff films are just, you're like, it's so weird because as you're watching it, and I think for the snuff films, they actually filmed them on
Super 8.
Yeah, exactly. To really get that feel, which I thought was very cool. But especially for the for the pool one, which is aptly named Pool Party 66. Which is just creepy within itself, where the family's tied to the chairs and they're just slowly dragged into the pool, and
yes, that's
it's so weird because like not only is it just a movie, there's nothing you can really do about it, but because just the essence of what a snuff film is, it's just very disturbing.
Yeah, I only remember those three. I remember the hanging one on the tree. I remember the pool one. I remember the lawnmower one. Obviously, I don't think anyone's forgotten the lawnmower ever since they've seen that movie. But I can't remember what the other two are. But I just remember, they're very realistic and very haunting, and just feels like you're watching something that you shouldn't be watching.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think is the genius of the film. It's like, hey, it's gonna feel real. It's gonna feel like you probably shouldn't be seeing this. And I think that's what makes it so scary, because you can throw in a bunch of jump scares, you can put on some crazy makeup and costumes and stuff, but the use of the Super 8 is just, it's that next level. We're like, oh, well, I mean, obviously I'm a bit too young to have used Super 8 in my time, but I've done VCR filming before, and it's very similar. And so that has that hint of realism where you just like, oh, this is touching a nerve I wasn't expecting from a film.
Yeah. It's kind of like Hereditary, like in the sense that it just makes you so uncomfortable, man.
Yes.
But in my opinion, Sinister is scarier than Hereditary.
I would agree.
But
I would absolutely agree. Yeah.
You just don't feel okay.
Yeah. No, I would 100% agree with you. Sinister is probably one of the scariest films I've seen in my life. Hereditary is bleak and unsettling and makes you wish that the world was a happier place. But Sinister is flat out scary, especially with that twist at the end. And obviously, like as a parent now, I'm just like, all right, I love you, and you'll never kill me or your mother, please. That would be a horrible twist. That's a really good pick.
Cut to Zoe being like, "Oh no."
Hey James, does your tea taste a little bit weird, or like?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, good thing I don't drink hot drinks, so we'll
keep your cordial locked away.
Yeah, it's on the top shelf. She can't reach. There's some top shelf cordial.
And you might want to throw out your lawnmower if you have one, but
Yeah, we have two now. So, so if we have another child, geez, we're they'll attack us from both ends, which would be very frightening.
I was not knowing you, man.
Yeah, look, the show had to come to an end at some point, and if it's at the grisly hands of my daughter, then I guess, that's a way to go. Oh, that's unsettling. Gabby, let's move on to another film, and hopefully it's not as upsetting.
It probably won't be, because I don't think it's highly regarded by a lot of, horror lovers. But my number 4 is House of Wax.
The Paris Hilton one?
Yes.
That is an underrated flick. I like House of Wax.
See, like the concept to me was just scary because it's like those films like The Hills Have Eyes, even like Wolf Creek, where you get stranded and you need help, and the person who acts like they're going to help you is actually a baddie. So, like, the idea of something like that happening, where I think they're on the way to a football game or something, and of course, you know, in any sort of early 2000s teen-centered horror, or I don't think they're teens, I think they're in college, maybe or end of high school, and of course they're all attractive.
It is a very pretty film. You've got Chad Michael Murray, Jared Padalecki, Paris Hilton, Alicia Cuthbert.
Yeah. So it's, you know, a bunch of hot people wind up, you know, in a problem, and they have to, you know, camp overnight because I think something happens to the car, and then they meet these like hillbillies that have like a lot of roadkill in the back of their truck. And then they're like, oh, you have to come into town to get the part for your car. And the town looks really deserted. And then they're in there and they're like, oh, we've got a famous wax museum. And then like one by one, they start getting picked off. And like, I think at the time, you know, they did such like wild marketing for it because so many horror fans were like infuriated that they cast Paris Hilton in a movie that a lot of their marketing was like, see Paris die on like that it was coming out.
I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah, and now it's like, you know, like you would never market a film like that. You could never get away with doing something like that.
No.
And the way that she dies is so brutal.
Yeah, straight on the pole. Is that what it is?
Yeah, like I think it goes straight through her eye and her head like slides down the pole. It is like your whole body cringes. It's nuts. And then like, you know, Jared Padalecki, like he's like frozen as a wax statue.
I was about to say this.
His eyes are moving, and so like they realize it's him, and then like they go to pick the wax off, and his skin comes off.
Yes, I was about to say like that moment. There are two moments from that film that stick with, well, three. The Paris Hilton death, obviously, quite brutal. The peeling of the face. And then Alicia Cuthbert puts her finger through a metal grate.
Oh, yes.
And the guy bends down and clips the tip of the finger off.
Yeah.
Like, holy Christ.
Yeah.
It is I mean, I haven't seen this film in probably 15 years. Probably the last time I saw it was maybe when it came out on DVD. But I remember really loving that film. I haven't seen the Vincent Price original, which I'm sure a lot of people will get angry about. But it came out around the same time as that Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And again, like, that was kind of the new trend. So moving away from The Ring and The Others and Sixth Sense, and then going into this more kind of slasher mystery gore fest. Like you had Texas Chainsaw remake, you had House of Wax. Paris Hilton, by the way, not a bad actress.
No.
Like, you know, she's not going to win an Oscar like for that movie, but totally fine. Went on to star in one of my favorite horror films of all time, a highly reviled movie called Repo the Genetic Opera. It's a musical horror film, and she's great in it.
Yeah, like I think people, like, she was just at the time one of those celebrities that I'm not going to say middle-aged, but like oh, sorry, I have a kitten trying to enter the room. I closed the door because I didn't want my dad's loud TV.
Is that Wilbur?
It is Wilbur. Come on in, buddy. Poor little guy. But yeah, so I think at the time, people just loved to hate her because, you know, she was rich and young and partying and getting up to no good, and just had this personality of being this like ditzy, dumb girl. But she made a whole entire business off of it. And I think people hated that. People hated that she was successful when, you know, she came from money. Her whole family had money. She didn't have to, you know, quote unquote, work too hard for it. But she made an entire business out of it. And now, even in her 30s, I
think she's in her 40s now.
Well, yeah, okay, she even could be. But now, like, you know, she's an international DJ.
Well, I think like this film came out this is pre-prison Paris,
Yep.
but it's post-sex tape, and it's right during the Simple Life era, which is a show that irritated people.
Yeah, hated it. I loved it.
But yeah, and also, like, she also has, I don't know if you've seen it, but she has a cooking show on Netflix, and she is
so funny.
She's hilarious. Like, she's got really good comedic timing. Like, I like that House of Wax film quite a bit. It's it's not going to go down as like one of the best films of all time, but it's fine to be corny and silly. And as I said, it's got some really brutal stuff in it. Like, it's pretty full on.
Yeah.
And you're actually making me really want to go back and watch it now.
I was when I was thinking about it, because I had another movie down, and it'll be one of my honorable mentions. But
I love that you got that. Excellent.
But like, I just thought this one is one I could go back and watch and like still get scared by, but actually enjoy. Because like there's that sort of like mystery element to it.
And it's got that frustrating thing, which also happened in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's interesting. I really like put those two films. I think they came out the same year, and I think I put them on the same kind of playing field a little bit. They do a lot of things. Like, you do have like those kind of like hillbilly villains, and you've got the people who you think are going to help them get out, but they actually make things worse for them and stuff. Like, House of Wax is one of those films where like they keep almost escaping. You're like, no, just escape already. Like, come on, like, get out of there.
Exactly.
I think that's a great film to put on there, and I never hear anyone talk about that movie. That's the thing. Like, you talked about the advertising campaign before, how everyone was in uproar. No one talks about that film anymore, and I actually think that's a shame. I think it's one that people should be talking about more. It's definitely a fun watch.
Yep, I agree.
So you got no complaints from me. Let's not that would matter anyway. Let's jump back to Andre.
Alrighty, so so this particular movie probably has my, how to describe it, my favorite concept of a monster when it comes to horror movies, because your typical horror movies deals with a lot of supernatural elements, and so does this one. But so this movie is called It Follows from 2000.
Yes. Oh, I like your list. Yep. Sorry, go on.
Why did
I love the monster so much. So essentially, no matter where you are on Earth, it'll just slowly come after you at a walking pace. Disguised as different human beings, but unless you've been afflicted by the monster, no one else can see it. And it's such an eerie thing to think about, because I could fly to Paris and think I'm safe, but all the while, whether it takes weeks, months, or years, this thing is eventually going to catch up to me. It never stops. Granted, it's slow, but it's always going to be there. So the anxiety of you living with that kind of affliction will be constant, and you won't know where it is, or who it could possibly be, because it essentially disguises itself as different people, aside from a naked man on the roof. But
and it takes the idea of Michael Myers or Jason, which is already scary, like a slow moving monster who just is relentless, but then it only makes them visible to you, and it's just like, geez, that's full, and it can shapeshift.
Yeah, exactly.
I always think of that scene on the beach. That's the one that always sticks with me the most.
Yeah.
That's so full on and like stressful. Have you seen it, Gabby?
No, I haven't, and you're not making me want to.
Get me to watch it tonight. Let's go.
It's of the three that Andre's gone through so far, it's the least scary, I would say.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's haunting. And the villain is basically an STD, a sexually transmitted demon.
Yeah.
But it plays like an indie drama, like, for the most part as well. So it's not, whilst it is haunting and the monster, the idea of the monster is quite scary, it's definitely an easier one to watch, I think, for most people. Like, it's not like constantly jump scares. It's a lot of it's in daylight. Like, a lot of the film is in broad daylight. It's not,
Okay.
shadows and around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. The more the main draw of the movie is just the anxiety of the monster itself. Even when they're all sitting around a circle in the park, and the character, I forget its name, but he's also affiliated with the monster, and he sees someone just randomly walking towards him, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys see that?" And
Yes.
it's only when the other people can see that person, like, yeah, we can see him. It's just that constant anxiety of where is it? Where the hell is it going to come from? And I thought it was I thought it was really smart for them near the end of the movie to trap it in the pool to try and kill it, because they can't really go to anyone. No one else can see it.
Yeah.
Unless you walk into a police station holding a bucket of paint and then waiting for it to come out, and then whatever. But
I actually would have liked, maybe not, I would have liked that if they had to use paint. That's not a bad idea. It's basically the Invisible Man. I do like that quite a bit, actually. That's a good idea.
But yeah. And even shooting, because they shoot it in the head twice, or at least shoot him once on the beach and then one directly in the head in the pool, and it stuns it. But then just gets back up and just keeps walking, man. It's just, marathon runner of the fucking century. But
it's listened to Chumbawamba a few times.
And what I like about it is, we're talking about cerebral horror before, and horror getting to the psyche. This is absolutely a story about paranoia. The idea of what's real, what's not real, what can they see, what can't they see, and am I just going crazy? It plays in the psyche quite well, and I love that about this film.
Yeah, very much. And the concept of it is so weird, how it's sexually transmitted, and I don't maybe I didn't get it in the film, but when it kills people, does it essentially screw them to death, or are they actually killed?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't watched it in a little while. I think the last time I watched was a few years back. So I'm not quite sure either.
But I love the fact that that it's not some all powerful being. Just to get into one of the characters' houses, it doesn't walk through the wall, it doesn't do anything like that. It breaks a window to get in.
Yes, yeah, it's very.
It's tangible.
Yeah, it's not far off human. It's not quite human. It can still have a gunshot to the head.
Yeah,
but it's not all. Yeah, I do like that as well, because I guess as much as I love the modern slasher villains, they're not even modern anymore. They're from the 80s, but your Freddy's, your Jasons, your Leatherfaces, I like them, but they've got quite a lifeline on them now. They're not one and done. Whereas kind of giving a monster limitations, I think, makes it more interesting.
And after watching the movie, I found the next day I was just thinking about things of how to defeat the creature, whether that be just digging a giant hole in the middle of a field, waiting for it to essentially fall down the hole, and then just fill it up with concrete and leave it be.
I mean, that'd be the way to go. Yeah, It feels like less. It's there's no stopping it, but you can lock it up. If you can lock it up, then you can imprison it. That's the only way to really beat it.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know if it can die. I'm not sure exactly how to defeat it. But the only unless you're living in an impenetrable castle, or being on the move constantly, it'll always just be walking after you.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's just it's that relentless nature. But you can be like that guy at the start and just pass it on. That's the only other way to get rid of it. But then if it gets who you pass on to, then it comes back for you, and just there's that reverse chain of events. It comes back to everyone who's ever been infected, which is also quite terrifying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You could they were thinking in the movie, they were going to pass it on to, oh God, how do I say this? An escort, essentially, because they have sex with a lot of people, so that would make quite a large chain. yeah, given X amount of years, like eventually it's gonna get back to you, like, and you just won't know. You could be walking down the street 15 years from now with your family and see a lovely elderly lady then just walking towards you, none the wiser, and then you're dead.
I mean, that would be a great sequel. Like, you do it 30 years later, and now she's middle aged and she has to reckon with it. Like, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's just the new Halloween franchise. But
Yeah, but that's essentially why it's on my list. Like, it's not it's got some horror elements, but just the concept of the monster is just really fantastic. And I fell in love with it as soon as I watched it.
No, it's a great flick, and again, like, one that I never, like, at the time everyone was talking about it, and then I've never heard anyone talk about it since. So I'm glad that people are still checking that flick out because it's a good one. Yeah, this is a strong list. Gabby, what are you gonna add to the mix?
So my number 3 is Shudder, and that was in 2008.
Another one I haven't seen.
So this one is
because it looks too scary.
Yeah, well, I think you'll be all right. Like, I've seen it a couple times now, and now it's more like there's a bit of mystery to it because I like that aspect to it.
This is the camera one, yeah?
Yeah. So, basically what happens is, like, a newlywed couple moved to Japan and the husband's a photographer. And, like, while driving, I think, to their house or where they're supposed to be going, they hit a girl while driving, but they don't ever find a body. So it was like, did that even happen? Like, what's going on?
That's responsible of them.
Yeah. Well, no, because, she thinks, like, the wife, she thinks that she's hit a girl and, the police are called and everything, but there's no body anywhere. So they're like, okay. And then, they get to the house and the guy starts his job and the wife's sort of, like, doing touristy stuff, and she starts noticing, like, a blurred, like, figure in the photos that have been processed.
That's terrifying.
They're like, what's that? And so they go and see, they ask about it to some of his friends, and they're saying that, like, it's sort of like in their culture that would sort of detect that maybe there's, like, a spirit or an entity around them. And so they go and and then, like, the husband starts saying he's, like, having shoulder pain and stuff. And so they go to see a psychic, and the psychic is, like, telling them what's going on, but the wife doesn't speak Japanese, but the husband does, and the husband's like, oh no, like, he's a hack, like, he's fake, like, he's just lying. So she's like, okay. And obviously, like, being the wife, she doesn't feel like she's being helped. She doesn't feel like, this is solved. So she goes to visit, like, the office building, and where she, like, encounters a spirit, and she learns that the girl who, like, the spirit was the same girl that they hit with the car, but she was already dead, and the husband actually knew her. And so when she's like, what the hell, to the husband, he admits that they used to date, but when her dad died, she got really clingy, and so he dumped her. But, like, because she was so clingy, he had to have his friends help him dump her, which is like, okay, like, what a wiener.
Well, I'm getting some Midsummer vibes from that relationship.
Yeah, and so they're like, what's going on here? And so they're like, well, like, why is her spirit, like, haunting us? Like, we need to find her body. And so they go to her house and they find out that, like, her body's there, but it's, like, decayed, and she committed suicide. And while they're, like, they see the body and they realize what's happened, like, she's died, her spirit actually kills, like, the 2 other friends. And she then comes after the guy, but she stops. And so they're like, okay, like, we need to leave Japan. Like, this, like, we need to get out of here. And so they go back to New York where they were from, but she's still like turning up in photos. And she, the wife, she finds photos of Ben, which is the husband, him and his friends, like assaulting this girl. And that was their way of driving her away. And so she's like, okay, like, no, I can't be with you. Like, and this was her, the spirit was actually just trying to warn her of the kind of guy that he is. And so she leaves him, but she's like, the spirit is still latched on to the husband. And like, he tries to like get rid of her. He like even electrocutes himself, but it doesn't get rid of her. And so like the movie ends and he's like at the hospital being weighed, and he weighs as much as like the weight of two people. And like the movie sort of like the camera is like panning out, and you see that like her spirit is like literally like attached to the back of him like a backpack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That does sound really cool.
It actually is really good. And like, obviously it's not like technically like an international film or anything like that, but I did like how there was like an element of a different culture in there. And like how, they explored how like what the spirit would mean and like the entity and stuff in their culture, rather than just being like, oh, we need to get ghost hunters here, like, come on. And like you could see that obviously the husband was carrying around like such a guilty conscience too, as he should, because he's a baddie. But yeah, like when I first watched that, I was terrified. And like and this was like at the same age of like 2008, everyone took a digital camera everywhere. Like everyone was getting a digital camera for their birthday to take random photos of like random things. You just take it out when you go for walks with your friends. Like it was the age of MySpace. And every time someone took a photo of me, that's it. Shout out to MySpace. Every time someone took a photo of me, I'd have to run and have a look to make sure that there was nothing in the background. And like, even, going on family trips, my dad is one of those people who has to document everything, every sign we went past, every little stop that would like come up on the drive. It's like, oh, look out here. Like he'd want us to get out and take photos. And when we got them developed, we'd go through them, and sometimes his thumb was in it. Sometimes it would be really blurry. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a spirit.
I like the point you make about having an international setting, because I think there's something really isolating about it, because whilst, you're around people, if you don't speak the language, you don't understand the culture, like it can be almost as scary as being by yourself.
Well, that's it. Because like she's the wife. She doesn't speak like Japanese that well, so she'd know enough to be like, thank you, hello, that kind of stuff, but not enough to carry a conversation, which is why early on in the movie, when the psychic's trying to tell her what's going on, the husband's like, oh no, like he's a liar.
And good cast, good to see Joshua Jackson in something, and Rachel Taylor obviously quite good as well. And then I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, so I have to look it up again. Otherwise, I'm going to butcher it. But it's James Kyson. He's one of the Japanese men. He was in Heroes like years and years ago.
Yes.
And also Roy from The Office, another Office alumni making a debut.
I think, yeah. Well, I mean, it was quite popular at the time.
What was, sorry? The Office?
The Office. Like it wasn't long. It was sort of in the same sort of like 5 to 10 year span.
Yeah, definitely. But you've really sold me on it, because I was like, I've seen like trailers of it, and like even the poster's scary. I'm just like, I sound like such a wimp, because I'm like, I love horror films. Every movie.
Oh yeah, the poster is scary.
But that sounds really. I don't think fun's the right word, but it sounds really fascinating. I really like the twist and kind of the way it's approached, and it has a very Ring-like feeling as well, because in the Ring obviously was video footage where people's faces were getting kind of blurred and changed, and so it seems to be very much a theme of Japanese horror or Asian cinema, I should say, because I think the original Shudder was a Thai film.
Well, yeah, I'm not like this may sound completely off the wall, but I have heard like in some cultures they feel like when you take a picture, like part of someone's soul, you've captured it. So like, I mean, whether or not that translates directly, or whether they may have found like an idea of some sort in that, I wouldn't say folklore, but like, I wouldn't know what to call it, but like a belief, you know, it does make for like a great idea because you can do so much with it. And because it resonates with a lot of people, you'd also elicit that response too of being like quite scared.
No, absolutely. That's another one I get to put on my list now. Like, you've given me two that I want to watch now. So two that I previously was avoiding, and now I'm like, you know what? I can go ahead and give them a go.
If I can do it, so can you.
Yeah, basically, like, I'm like, well, Gabby, if Gabby can watch it, then clearly I can handle it.
Yeah, but did you have your eyes open the whole time?
The second time I watched it, I did.
No, look, even I still cover my eyes and stuff every now and then. I remember when the first time I watched the first Conjuring, I had to like pull up like my phone, and like I wasn't, because I don't look at my phone during movies very often. But it's more so I'm just going to look away and just kind of watch them out of the corner of my eye for this scene, because I feel like there's a big jump scare coming. And then the thing that Conjuring does brilliantly and frustratingly is that there's almost no jump scares, but it builds and builds and builds to what you think is going to be a jump scare. And then just changes scenes. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. Like, how dare you do that to me? Now I feel like I need a release and I'm just all tightly wound. That's a great film from the sounds of it. I'm very, very keen to give it a go. We should jump back to Andre and see what his second last film on the list is.
Alrighty. So this one is a 2017 Netflix film called The Ritual.
Oh, I've seen this one. Yep. It's another good film.
Yes. Going 4 for 5. And I've just realized that, hey, I haven't actually been describing the movies like on my list. So people who are listening are kind of just like, yeah, like, thanks for talking about the movie, but you're actually going to describe it so I know what
it's a pretty common theme on this show where, like, we don't really, like, everyone does it differently. Even I'm just kind of like, and then this moment's cool, and this moment's cool, but we never really go into too much detail. Is this the one with Dan Stevens?
Dan Stevens.
The Beast from Beauty and the Beast. He's a very handsome young man. I'm pretty sure it's Dan Stevens. And I feel like there's like a scene with a grinder.
No. Like, I think we're talking about a different movie.
Oh, is The Ritual? Is it with Rafe Spall? And it's like,
yeah.
Cool. There are 2 Netflix films that came out around the same time.
I see.
Okay, I'm on board with you now. This one is also great. I always think of the wine shop scene.
Yeah. It's very intense. And what really gripped it for me was when we see Rafe climbing to the top of the hill, and he's just trying to get a gauge on where they are in the woods, and as it sort of zooming into the tree line, you don't notice it until it pulls away, but you see a hand drop off the tree that's like 5 feet in the air. You know, so like it's a human hand as well. So you're trying to gather what the hell this thing is, because it has a human hand, but again, it's so high up in the air that you're like, that's not normal. But yeah, sorry, like I'll talk about the movie this time.
I was thinking of Apostle. That's what I was thinking of. It's also a Netflix horror film. That's a great one. But sorry, let's get back to The Ritual.
So yeah, it starts off with 5 friends that I presume are in London, and they're all planning a hiking trip in Switzerland, and then the main character again, and another one of the friends goes into a bottle to get some more alcohol, and the place is actually being robbed. And then the friend gets hit in the head really hard, and a main character is so stricken with fear that he hides, and he can't really do anything about it. And then it cuts to the 4 remaining friends, including the main character, going on that hike through Switzerland, and they make a memorial for their friends, and then and then one of them falls into a hole and hurts his leg. Now they're supposed to get to a lodge. I think it's in 2 days' time, but the friend who fell really hurt his leg, so they opt to make a shortcut through the dense forest instead of walking around it. And as they make their way into the forest, they find essentially a bull strung up on top of the trees, I'm quite high in the air and gutted, and they see a lot of what looks like to be Nordic symbols everywhere around it. So something weird's going on in the forest.
Something is afoot.
Correct, and and they find and it starts to rain, and they happily come along a cabin where they can take shelter for the night. And up in the attic, they find this really strange looking effigy that looks like a human torso, but with an upside down deer head and antlers. And as they're sleeping, they all have nightmares. And when they wake up, they find one of the friends naked, praying to this effigy, but in his sleep. And a main character has been marked with a symbol across his chest.
This sounds scary.
Yeah, and so they all get a little freaked out, and they start making their way through the forest. And another night passes, and the friend who was praying to the effigy gets taken away by something in the night, something ginormous. They can't quite spot what it is, but whatever it is, it's huge, and they find him strung up in a tree as well. I could be getting the characters mixed up, but yeah. And
based on my recollection, I think you're on track. I've only seen the movie once, but yeah, this sounds pretty accurate. Yeah,
and then another friend gets taken away and also gutted. And all their supplies that have been taken now. It's just the main character and the friend who hurt his leg, and his leg has gotten significantly worse. It's hard for him to walk, and so they eventually start running. And they find their way to this small village with other people essentially worshipping this creature, whatever it is. And the friend with a bum leg gets sacrificed, but a main character gets spared because of the marking on his chest. And what essentially the monster does is that people who have been through trauma, he gives them long-lasting life, so long as you pray to this demigod or whatever it is, and that's what these people in this village have been doing. Essentially, they're other hikers or other people that have lost their way, and they've been through a lot of trauma in their life, and this monster takes them in and gives them everlasting life. As long as they pray to this creature and make sacrifices and yada yada. So eventually our main character breaks out and he burns down the village, and then the monster goes after him. But I think that at the end of the film you see him stand up to the monster, and yelling at I'm trying to find the word, borderline howling and screeching at this giant creature, in a shock of bravery, which was a stark contrast to him at the start of the film.
It's a wonderful moment, and I love that creature design. It's
so
cool.
good.
It's such a good looking creature. And the film itself has very Blair Witch vibes. And I've kind of shared my opinion on the Blair Witch in previous episodes, and I don't think it's a bad film. At the time I watched it, I think it was a bit late for me, but this kind of captures that same essence and really leans into the creep factor. And you even see it when he's trying to run out of the forest, and the creature catches him. It doesn't kill him. It presses his head towards the ground, into a kneeling posture. Yes, yeah.
It's just I don't want to kill you. I want you to worship me. Kind of deal, surrender to me. which
I can relate to that.
which
I'm just joking.
And yeah, which is a complete 180, like, and fantastic character development from the start of the film, which he doesn't do anything to save his friend. He's cowering behind a shelf from two muggers for him having to overcome his fears and essentially face this godlike creature with an axe. And yeah, eventually he gets out of the forest, and it has that classic movie trope when you see a car driving down the highway. So you presume that all is well afterwards, But yeah, I love that movie from the monster design to the very slow build up to what you see, and even go as far as as the Nordic mythology towards it all, because I did a fair amount of research on the film before, and the monster in the film is supposed to be a bastard son of Loki. That's why you see a lot of Nordic symbols in the film.
That's very cool. That's it. I didn't know that. I generally hit up IMDb or trivia pages once I finish the film and just dive into the lore as well. But if I'd read that part, I'd completely forgotten it. But that's a very cool little detail. And you're making me want to rewatch it.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the psychological stuff where the monster is sending him back to the bottle shop to kind of relive that moment, where hey, you didn't protect me, you weren't brave enough to him overcoming that. It's just it's a triumphing film in the end, and yeah, I fell in love with it.
I remember really loving the editing. I think that scene you just talked about then is an example where you literally kind of pan from the forest into the bottle shop.
So good.
Just a great little moment of editing. Could have easily just cut to it, but instead they're no, we're going to get the effort of doing this transition here.
Yeah.
I remember the film being exhausting, and that's not a criticism, but just being so relentlessly. The group is so relentlessly unfortunate. Just when you think things are going to get better, something else goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I just remember by the end of the film, you're right, you used the word triumph, and that's absolutely correct, because it's just finally, this group gets a win. Geez, it took all movie, but finally, things might be okay. It's a great film, and you've really sold me on rewatching it, because I haven't checked that in a few years, probably since it debuted on Netflix. So that's a solid flick.
Yeah, well, go get it again, my man.
That's it. I was I'm going to watch it tonight. I've actually got a couple of things planned for tonight, but I will be watching it again soon. They got to do a hard copy so I can put it in my collection. Gabby, what is your second last movie on your list?
So my second last movie is Orphan.
What a film. And interesting, the guy who directed Orphan also directed another film we just talked about before, which was Shudder.
Okay.
And he directed the latest Orphan film, and he did Black Adam, which is out in cinemas right now.
Oh, really?
Oh, see, I haven't seen the new one. Because did it go straight to
Paramount Plus, I think.
Okay, yes, I haven't seen the new one, but
it's interesting because the new one's a prequel, and the woman who plays, well, I don't want to spoil too much of it. We'll get to it. But the girl from the first one is a prequel, but now she's 10 years older.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched Orphan for the first time this year, and I'm interrupting, so please tell me about Orphan.
Oh, well, yeah, so basically it starts with a couple. They've got a son and a daughter who is deaf, and she's quite young, and they've just suffered a stillbirth.
Yes.
The relationship is quite strange, and that it's quite traumatic to experience something like that. As a couple, already having children, you're thinking, okay, this is now going to be our family complete, and it didn't work out the way that everything had planned. So obviously, that's quite sad and traumatic, and they go and they say, okay, well, let's adopt a child then, which I don't know. if that I'm not going to say it's questionable move, but I guess they're trying to do something to repair a hole that's been left.
And that opening scene, by the way, is so traumatic.
Yeah.
In the hospital, I mean, geez.
Yeah. So, they go to this orphanage and they are looking around all these kids, and all these kids are all like playing and having fun. And there's this like one girl like in by herself, like painting. And so the wife, sort of takes a little bit of a liking to her. The husband's like, oh, I don't know. And, they end up taking her home. And all seems to be well until it doesn't.
Yeah.
And, this little girl, it turns out to be a rat. She starts being violent towards the other kids, and like kids at school are bullying her, and she like hurts a girl really bad. And
yeah, doesn't she push one off a playground thing and breaks their arm?
Yeah. So I think that's what she does to the bully at school. And she like kills a pigeon or something in front of the kids that she's living with. And so like the mum is getting a little bit like suspicious of her, and she's saying, oh, like you're being really naughty, and so she confides in the dad, and the dad's like, oh, you should do something nice for her, so that she knows that you really do care about her and stuff like that. And so what she does is she goes and cuts these roses from their greenhouse, and they are roses that the mum has specifically told her are like a tribute to their stillborn daughter, like the daughter that has died. They're her special flowers. It's like a whole big, like not a vase, like a big pot, and it has a plaque and everything. And she goes and cuts them, and it's like, oh, here, I got these for you. And the mum just loses it. And
mum played by Vera Farmiga as well, who we were talking about.
Yeah. So same ideas in The Conjuring. And so she is like, what the hell? Like, how could you do this? And the dad, whether he's intentionally ignorant, he's just like, oh, no, like she's just trying to be nice. And like he takes the daughter's side, and she just continues to pit the parents against each other until something happens where the mom's questioning everything, and she goes and tries to like look at this girl's history, and one of the nuns from the orphanage like comes to tell them what actually happened, and then the little girl like kills her, and like
and the caseworker as well.
The caseworker, so like it's building until you find out that this girl is not really from the orphanage that she says she is, and like she's not, everything is not as it seems. And so the mom, the dad like keeps the kids, and the mom's like out because she says that the daughter accuses the mom of drinking, and she's like a recovering alcoholic. And
yes, I'd forgotten about that scene, but yeah, that's
and so like obviously like this is a lot of tense things going on in that family already, and then she's just pitting them all against each other. There's even a scene where like she like nearly kills the deaf daughter, like she puts the handbrake down and the car's like rolling back into oncoming traffic. Like it's just so
yes,
oh
yeah, God. Absolutely.
Same with like the son, like she like lights his
the treehouse on fire.
Yeah, so like lots of near misses for the kids, and then like you get to the part where the mom's not in the house anymore, and the daughter tries to like seduce the dad.
So I was waiting for this part because one thing we have skirted around is how unbelievably horny this movie is.
Yeah.
It's terrifying and unnerving and violent, but like there's so much sex in this movie, like throughout. It's just like what's going? It's such a weird tone to walk.
Yeah, because I think like with the parents, like she's trying to like the mom, she's trying to make an effort to like, I don't know, rekindle their romance because they've just suffered such a trauma. And so like, I guess, they're trying to place blame where there shouldn't be any blame, and so she's trying to fix things by like trying to initiate sex, and then
and doesn't like Esther like watch them?
She watches them and then interrupts them.
Yes, in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, yeah. And so it's like, Jesus Christ. So, you know, she's like trying to seduce the dad while the mom's out, and he's like, oh, what the hell? But like before he like stops it, he's like, you see him sort of question it a little bit, and you're like, well, come on, pal. And then at the same time, the mom finds out that she's not a little girl, that she's actually a 33-year-old woman who's killed several people. And she realizes her family's in danger, so she like rushes back, and the dad's cotton on to what's going on, like she kills him. And like it's very intense up until the end where she's like, you know, fighting, and like they're running away from her, and she tries to shoot her, and like the little girl who's deaf, she tries to shoot Esther, but she ends up shooting the ice that they're standing on, so they're both like underwater. And at the end,
what about that?
At the end, the mom's like scraping out of the water, and Esther, like, instead of being like, you know, who she really is, she goes back to that like childlike voice and be like, oh, mommy, like, help me. And she's like, I'm not your mommy. So yeah, it was a bit of a nail biter, but again, it had that like mystery element that I kind of like, which made it a bit less scary for me, and a bit more enjoyable, because like I hate like this. That to me is a situation that's not very realistic. So it's like
I would agree with that.
I'm a bit more comfortable with that rather than like, you know, ghosts or something.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a particularly scary film, but it is weird. Like it's I just don't know who comes up with an idea like that. I know I've come with some weird ideas for stories in my time, but that's a really like a bizarre one. And that's where I guess the horror lies, is like it's just such a weird concept.
Yeah. Like,
but entertaining. Like I would say it's fun. Still isn't the right word, but it's closer to fun. Like it's a bit more of a like you can watch it with a group of people and kind of make fun of some of the stuff in it and have a good time with it. But at the same time, there's some really devastating trauma in there because it is surrounding the death of a child.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, whether you've experienced it yourself or know someone who has, like even if you've never dealt with that, like you can't imagine the pain and the suffering that someone would have to deal with going through an experience like that. And so like it tugs on your heartstrings. You're trying to feel for the people involved. And then all this other stuff comes out about them, like, you know, the mum being a recovering alcoholic and all that sort of stuff. And then, you know, unfortunately, when people do have addiction issues, like it's quite easy for those on the outside looking in to pass judgment. So, yeah, lots going on. But that one, it did scare me because I was just like so desperate for them to like get out of trouble.
Yeah, it's I remember I watched it for the first time this year, and a friend of mine, she recommends it. She goes, "Oh, look, that's a good one. You like it." And I bought it on Blu-ray like years ago. I was just sitting there waiting to be watched, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good time to watch it." No idea what it was about really, and you know, I was still a relatively new father at this point, and again, I said that opening scene in particular, I was like, "Gee, like you could have warned me. Like I've got a young daughter. You know, I had a wife who was pregnant only like 2 years ago. Like you could have been like, hey, by the way, prepare to be traumatized the first 5 minutes." Have you seen Orphan, Andre?
Yes, I have, but it was quite a while ago. So as Gabby's talking about it, it's all coming back to me, and again, it's all disturbing me once again. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, but yeah, now that we talked about the twist, obviously her being a 33-year-old woman, I'm interested to see what they do with the prequel, because they made it like 12 years later. But so, I mean, I don't think she was 33 when she played the role, but I am interested to see what they do with that and how they make it work. But yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah. We're at the pointy end. We're now at the top of both your lists. I feel like I'm just going to get really scared because Andre has only picked scary movies.
Yeah, he's more of the scary one here. I'm more of the.
But based on everything that's come before, I'm excited to know what it is. Andre, what is the number one film on your horror list?
Well, yeah. Well, this one is also one of my favorite movies of all time. As in terms of a horror movie, to me, it's terrifying, but it's also a fantastic movie. Whether by design and just positive character development. But that's 2013's Mama.
I have never seen Mama, but this is Guillermo del Toro?
Correct.
Okay, so I've never seen it, and it's one. I think I used to always get it confused with The Orphanage and Orphan. Like those three all kind of came around at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, don't let me stop you. I can't wait to hear about Mama because I've never had a chance to see it.
Well, the two main actors are Jessica Chastain and the guy that plays Jamie Lannister on Game of Thrones, Nicola Waldo.
Nikolai Costa-Waldo, I think. Yeah, I think you're on the right track there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it essentially starts off over the radio of a man murdering his colleagues because of a stock failure, and he goes and grabs his two kids. And just starts driving to wherever, and the roads are really icy. It's snowy, and both these two little girls, the oldest one is 3, and the other one is only a year old. Eventually, the car crashes, and they fall into the woods, and they come across this random cabin in the snow.
Always a cabin
correct.
in the snow.
Now the dad's got a lot of mental issues, and he's in a panic. He's just murdered his colleagues, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He has a gun, and he essentially is going to murder his daughters and then shoot himself. Which is really dark from the get-go. But as he's telling the 3-year-old to turn around, I can face the window, she's saying, Daddy, there's a woman out there and she's floating. But the dad doesn't see it, and as he's about to pull the trigger, you see him get grabbed from behind by something. Something humanoid, but you can't quite see it. And because this 3-year-old, her glasses fell off. You can see it from her vision, but it's all blurry. All you can see is her dad getting ripped off the ground, his neck being snapped, and then thrown towards, and then thrown in the other room. So these two little girls are still trapped in this cabin in the woods, and then out of the darkness, a cherry pops out and being rolled on the floor, and then you cut to the opening screens where it's essentially a child's drawing of what's happened over the years, where this something has been feeding these two kids, right? And now that cuts into years into the future, where the brother of the uncle of his two children, who he's played by the same actor, he's supposed to be his twin brother, has been spending all his money looking for the two girls, and his girlfriend, played by Jessica Chastain. Chastain.
I know who you're talking about. It's okay.
Is a rock and roll star. She's in a band, and she makes it very clear that she doesn't want children. But yeah, eventually they find the kids in the cabin, and over the years, because their development cycle has essentially been cut off, they've turned into little gremlins that can't really speak, and they're walking all fours. They're dirty. They're anorexic. They're malnourished. They've been surviving on cherries for the past X amount of years, and they get taken away to the modern world, or whatever, away from the cabin. Now the oldest one was old enough to still keep some development of her speech and communication skills, while the youngest one, like only being a year old, comes across as quite vicious and etc. So both the uncle and his girlfriend are sort of thrust into looking after these two children. And that's where the scary stuff comes in, because whatever this apparition was has taken over the role of the mother of these two children, and she doesn't want to let them go. She wants it back, right? So as the movie progresses, the girlfriend who didn't want kids in the first place slowly grows to like the girls and try and become their protector, which really pisses off Mama, the ghost.
Yep.
And you know, the uncle, the husband gets wiped into a coma. Yeah, it's like, what terrifies me the most is just the monster. It's this horrifying, ghostly apparition that has elongated limbs, hair in front of her face. I'm like, the monster was done by Guillermo del Toro. So you really can't go wrong. But it's just so well shot. It's so terrifying. The way that it just pans and pans to different things. You can see a shot down the hallway. On your right, closer to the camera, you see the two kids playing, which what you think is together, and then down the end of the hallway is the girlfriend that's doing washing or something. And then briefly on our right, you can see the two girls being lifted up in the air, but they're alone in the room, so they're being lifted up by something. While the girlfriend is still down the end of the hallway, none the wiser. But as the story progresses, the eldest one is realizing that Mama isn't what she's supposed to be. She's a monster.
Oh, I just saw a picture of Mama, and that's gonna. Oh no! Why'd I do that to myself?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that to yourself at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna stop looking at photos. Okay.
It's the first horror movie that I showed Gabby, I think.
Yeah, because we got into this thing of what's your favorite movie? Let's watch each other's favorite movie, and mine was Gladiator. Which I've discussed, or I have a few, but Gladiator was, I think the reason why that came about is because we were talking about the Hans Zimmer thing, and I was like, what the hell, you've never seen it? And so we watched it, and he was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And I'm like, well, I want to do the same thing for you, and what's your favorite movie? And this was it. And this was where I was like, well, you barely watched it because I was hiding half the time.
Yeah, no, that thing's, I was just on IMDb, and I'm like, they don't give away too many spoilers on IMDb. The photos be right. And that mixed up face, just, oh my God, I can't get it out of my head now.
I've watched it like 5 times, and it still terrifies me. But aside from it being a very scary horror movie, to me, it's just a fantastic movie in general.
It is a nice story. If you take away
Mama,
the aspect of how terrifying she looks and how sinister as a character she is, just because she is selfishly wants to keep them to herself and doesn't want them to grow up outside of her, and because she's had them so long she sees them as her own. The development from when they first get the little girls, and then as the older one keeps growing and sort of starts noticing things and realizes, actually, I want the girlfriend to be my mama, or not her mum, but her mother figure, and not this creature. There's quite a big development there. And even from Jessica Chastain's character, at the start of the movie, she's very much I don't want kids. I'm happy with living my life the way that we've got it now. And she has this essentially a problem thrust upon her, and she's got to deal with it because the boyfriend is working all the time, and then he gets in the coma, and then she's completely alone. So like, yeah, it's actually a really nice story, and like, you know, when you get to the end, it's almost like quite sad.
Yeah, one thing I was just been looking over your list, and one thing that seems to be common in both your lists for the most part is that the central element of all these movies is family, like with the exception of House of Wax, and maybe It Follows. It's all of your films really follow the idea of like trauma and like families trying to stick together or endure suffering, which is it's fascinating to see it on one person's list, but to see it on both your lists. And I was wrong. I thought it was Guillermo del Toro that directed the film. He produced it. It was Andy Muschietti who directed, who of course
that's right.
who did the It films. Which, seeing that face makes sense, because geez, he did some weird face work in those It films as well. It sounds wonderful. Like it sounds like it sounds like a really tragic film.
Yeah.
And that imagery is going to haunt me. I've got to. Thank goodness I've got some fun horror films scheduled for tonight.
Go look at some memes or something.
I'm going to watch Fright Night tonight, so that'll be right. Fright Night's fun.
Even though the movie is terrifying, I would so highly recommend it.
It'll be a daytime watch, you know.
Yeah.
Like, just like Insidious, it'll be a daytime watch.
Yeah, like especially the child actors. They're fantastic. For them being so young. Like, and the movie doesn't. It's very much a show don't tell. There's a lot of subtle aspects that it doesn't shove in your face. That even from Mama being a ghost, she's she's cold, she's a spirit, she can't really hold you. To the girlfriend holding the youngest one, and even breathing on her hand warmly because she's cold. You see the youngest one looking into the girlfriend's eyes and experiencing something new because she was too young to remember her dad, and she's never been held like this before. And it's very comforting for her. But yeah, man, it's it's a beautiful story, albeit fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend it.
No, it's going on the list. As I said, I'm going to be picking up some movies tomorrow. If Mum is there, it will get added to the cart. Absolutely. That is a strong sell. And I don't mind being terrified. I've been terrified before, but it does sound like the central story is quite good. But no, that's a solid list. That is a good list.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you'll have some honorable mentions, but we should wrap up Gabby's list as well. Gabby, what is your number one?
Mine has featured several times in the month of Halloween, so I don't really need to go on about it too much, but it is Insidious. And so I feel like enough people have spoken about it that I don't really need to go into it too much. But as you said, you have that family element and, family trying to work through something quite traumatic and scary together. And they have to work together, otherwise they're not going to come out of it. But Andre showed me that a few weeks ago because I'd never seen it. And yes, we did have to follow the lights on rules, and I wasn't allowed to read the plot of this one, but there was some quite serious jump scares in there for me. And I think the building up of tension just got to me. Even there's the scene with that song that tiptoe through the window. That's
Tiptoe, but the cover by Tiny Tim.
The
ukulele.
It's really unnecessarily creepy. And
James Wan just knows how to use music, man. I keep going back to that scene in Conjuring 2. It's Patrick Wilson singing Elvis. Should not be in that movie, but it works so well.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and then obviously that devil face that.
Oh, that's the one I keep seeing. I'm just geez, that's and even the old woman. Again, I haven't watched the movie yet, but I've seen the imagery.
You haven't seen Insidious?
Yeah, so
I'm thinking I'm going to watch it on Monday. I'm thinking maybe I'll watch it with the lights on Monday.
So, yeah, it is scary, but the concept is really cool. And the way that the like the sequels tie in, I think are great. And the characters are likable. You know, the what's the lady's name?
Rose Byrne.
No. So that's the wife. Like she's likable because she's like normal. You feel for her.
I love Rose Byrne. Like we talked about Australian actresses before.
Yeah,
like she is my go-to.
She's not only like, you know, like she was in Troy, she was in Insidious, she's in Bad Neighbors. Like she's got range.
She's in a wonderful movie from 2006. I want to say maybe 2005 called The Rage in Placid Lake. Not to be confused with the alligator film. It's like a comedy. It's like a dramedy starring her and Ben Lee. And
okay, like the singer.
The singer Ben Lee, and he plays like the son of two hippies. I guess it's kind of like what's the Michael J. Fox show? But he plays the son of two hippies, and he wants to be a businessman, basically.
Right.
And Rose Byrne's his best friend, and she's like all kooky and stuff. But anyway, it's wonderful. It's a great little Aussie film, and Rose Byrne is just delightful in it. But are you talking about the older woman?
Yeah, Elise was her name in the movie, but like
played by Lynn Shay. Yep.
Yeah, she's so sweet, and like she just like, you know, old people, you either love them or you like they're either so lovely. They're always on one end of the spectrum. They're either really lovely and so cute and sweet, and they want to help and you want to spend all your time with them, or they're a crank, like they're grumpy and you just don't want to spend any time around them. And she is definitely the former. And, you know, she tried, like this is, you know, she's dedicated her whole life to helping people. And, you know, she really inspires the family to band together. So, you know, I really like her. And there's also another Australian actor in it, and I can't remember his name, but he used to be on Thank God You're Here.
Angus Sampson.
Yes, him.
He's great.
When I saw him, I was like, oh, I know him. And then like just little tidbits of things that he would say would just like his accent would slightly pop out. And like it would just remind me of the things that he would say on Thank God You're Here. And he was so funny on that. So like, yeah, it was like, yes, it was terrifying, but I did think it was quite a good movie. And that's why it is numero uno.
That again, just another really hard sell. Like that's a flick that I've been putting off for a long time. And originally when the film came out, I was kind of like, it just doesn't seem like my kind of thing. Just like Paranormal Activity, it kind of all came out at that same. Like, that's not really my kind of thing. But everyone is selling Insidious to me so hard, where I was like, right, I have to order it, which I have done now. And I have to sit down and watch it. But everyone's also been like, it is quite scary. Which James Wan does a really good job of making scary films without relying on too many tricks. Like, Insidious is rated M, but is like meant to be terrifying. Conjuring is rated MA or R in the States, and simply because it's scary. Like, it's not violent. There's no cursing. There's no like sex. It's just so scary they had to rate it that high so that children wouldn't see it. And that's a real testament to his storytelling, I think.
Definitely. From memory, I don't think there's swearing in Insidious.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. So yeah, I mean, same sort of deal.
I can let my dad watch it. That means his biggest fear is swearing.
He's going dressed up as the F word for Halloween.
He won't ever do it, which is scared of.
So really terrifying.
I don't even know if he still listens to the show. If you do, Dad, well, I'm not sorry, but just having a laugh, man.
It's just banter.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just the bants. Those are two really strong lists, and both of you very different, but also some very common themes, which I really like. And a lot of ghosts and spirits, which is part of the rules. I think I've said on the show before, the rule for my wife is no children, no mirrors, no ghosts.
Yeah.
Anything else is pretty much, you can watch anything else. But yeah, those are all quite scary, which I wasn't expecting from you, Gabby. I was expecting from Andre, because you said that he was quite into horror.
You're expecting Scooby-Doo, Spooky Island.
No, but I was thinking, I was expecting, I guess, something that was maybe a bit more tame, or kind of like more fun movies. But like, with the exception of House of Wax, like, you don't have any fun movies on there. They are all legitimately terrifying.
Like, they did really sit with me. I mean, like, I mean, I'll just like throw out the honorable mentions that
Yeah,
I
hit me with
have.
those.
So 1408 was one of them.
That's what's his name?
John Cusack.
That's the one. I was going to say
Yeah.
Nick for some reason, but yeah, John Cusack. Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but that one's meant to be quite terrifying.
That it's just so uncomfortable, and like you sort of are positioned almost not to like him at the start, and then you start feeling sorry for him, and then you're really like rooting for him. So like that one's quite good. And I saw that one when I was like way too young to see it too. So that one really, scared the crap out of me. And then Wolf Creek. Now I know it's not scary as in like, ooh, scary, but because it's like
it's unsettling.
It's loosely based on like a real thing. It terrified me because similarly to how you said the thing with Final Destination, how that scared you because it could potentially happen. And then, obviously it's had such an impact with the log truck, and people refuse to drive behind them. And like I've seen people do some very, very Fast and Furious type driving to get away from those type of including myself, just absolutely fanging the I-30 to get away from them. But this one, I went on a family trip to Perth when I'm going to say I was about 14, and my dad made the ingenious decision to drive there because we're going to spend like 3 weeks. So Dad's like, oh, we'll just drive and, we can see the sights and, travel the country and as a family, and it'll be so great. Except it was my dad, myself at 14, and my sister's 8 years younger than me. So 6 years old. And luckily in the car, Dad had 6-disc CD player. So
the old CD stacker in the car. I remember that.
We would stack 3 of his and 3 of mine. And then Kiana, my sister, would be in the back seat watching a DVD, and she'd just, rotate the same 3 or 4. She was a big fan of Barnyard, Over the Hedge. And
I like Over the Hedge. That's a film that gets a lot of criticism as well, but I like that
one. But yeah, so we'd swap, and I don't know, I think Dad was like trying to save money on accommodation so that we could do like heaps of activities while we were there. So the first night we were there, like we were on our way, we drove like from our house, we were living in the southeast of Melbourne, and driving towards, to Perth, we went past Adelaide and ended up in Snowtown.
Oh.
Now, my dad obviously knew the Snowtown situation. I, at 14, did not.
Was that at the time that was all happening?
I think it was before, like it was after it had happened.
I mean, talk about like bleak films, like Jesus Christ.
That is a real thing that happened. So
yeah.
Anyway, so he's like, oh, well, he tried to find a room at like a motel, and they're like, nah, we're not taking anyone. So we had to sleep in the car on the side of the road near like a railway. And so like huge container trucks were going past the whole night. No one got any sleep. But, the next day we stayed in a motel, and the next day we had to sleep in the car again. And Dad stopped at like a rest stop. And previously I had slept in the back seat of the car and not really gotten any sleep. So I thought if I slept in the boot, because my dad drove an X-Trail, so the boot was quite spacious, I thought maybe I'd get some sleep. Absolutely not.
Yeah, you creeped me out, bro. I'm going to be honest. Like, this is a terrifying story.
But I had watched Wolf Creek prior to going with my friends, and I was so scared that some man was going to come around the back of the car, peer into the boot, because you're standing up, you can see down into the boot. I was so scared that someone was going to come and see me and like attack me from outside, and like my dad wasn't going to be fast enough to fight him off. So that movie just scared the crap out of me. And like, again, since it's like loosely based on true events, like, or a real person, that was so scary, I just think like it had that element of, oh my gosh, this could happen to us because we're traveling too. So yeah, that one kind of shook me a bit. I know for a lot of people just think like, you know, it's not that great of a movie. And I'm not saying, you know, it's here to win Oscars or anything, but it did have a bit of a lasting impression.
That's a movie that when I watched at the time, because people were comparing it to Saw, they were like, it's as violent and creative as Saw. And I remember I watched and I found it to be a little bit boring. Like not a bad movie, but a bit slow. Like when it was firing on all cylinders, it was great. But when it was taking its time, it was a bit slow. And I thought it was unfairly compared to Saw. I'm like, no, Saw was constantly doing interesting things. But I actually haven't seen it since I watched it on DVD back in 2007 or whenever it was. So it probably is worth a rewatch. But the scariest thing about that entire story was the fact that you stayed in Snowtown. Like that's...
Well, I didn't know about it until we came back and we spent some time with some family friends who then told us, was like, I can't believe you stayed there, and told me what had happened. And I was like, you let us stay in a murder town in the most like rude teenager voice you could possibly imagine. Like, oh my God, Dad, obviously you don't love or care about us at all. Like, you've just taken us on this interstate trip, but you hate us, obviously. Like, yeah.
That's funny. I know your sister, so I'm just imagining a 6-year-old Kiana like watching her cartoons in the middle of Snowtown.
That's it.
Jesus Christ, that is terrifying. Andre, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Like Insidious, like and Hereditary. Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary.
Are on there. But one that I wanted to put on my list on, but I didn't end up doing was Mirrors.
Oh, I've never seen Mirrors. You guys are bringing some great ones to my attention. I love the director of Mirrors, Alexandre Aja, who obviously did the Hills Have Eyes remake, and he's done a bunch of really cool ones. He did Piranha, which is a really fun, silly movie. But Mirrors I haven't seen because obviously the rule in this house is no children, no spirits, no mirrors. And it feels like Mirrors is going to be just full of mirrors. Tell me a bit about that one.
Yeah. So because it's only an honorable mention, I'll keep it quite brief. But yeah, essentially there's this burnt down mall, we'll say, and there's a lot of spirits trapped within the mirrors of that mall, and they want to get out, and a main character gets a job as a night guard there, and the mirrors start haunting him, and they eventually kill his sister. Everything's like a reflection. If they have a reflection that they can get you, it doesn't have to be a mirror. It can be the TV screen when the TV's on, but your lights on, or even the reflection of water. It devils with the aspect of what's on the other side, and it eventually turns into a demonic presence that was trapped within the mirrors from someone suffering from schizophrenia, and all the spirits I want him in doing is trying to get out and back to that body. So out of all the night guards and that have been working at that hall, that they've been trying to get them to find a woman called Anoresica, but she's hiding away in a monastery, and she's 80 something years old. It's just a really cool movie. Again, it kind of makes you wonder what is on the other side of a mirror and what could possibly be watching back. Which is really cool.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying.
I made Gabby watch it, and she got through it all right. So,
yeah, well, I mean, and the rule obviously on this show now is that if Gabby can handle it, anyone can. So,
if I can watch it, basically get your kids to sit and watch it. It's the same thing.
I can't. Honestly, I can't wait to get Zoe into horror. I'm tossing up whether I wait until she's age appropriate or do the bad dad thing and just show her the movie she wants to see before she's supposed to behind her mum's back. Her first movie ever was Logan, so She was an infant, so she won't retain much of it. But that was the first film she sat before. But she has no concept of fear. Like she doesn't like we've never made kind of said, "Oh, that's scary," or you should be afraid of that. So at this point, she has no concept of fear. So I could get her into horror, I suppose. But,
the last one I have honorable mentions. Like, look, it's not that much of a horror movie, but like the monster did scare the crap out of me, like as a kid. But it's just so much fun, and that's the original Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser.
yes, of course. Absolutely.
That movie was
those Beatles, man.
Oh, they were horrifying, but I feel like that was everyone's sexual awakening when that one came out.
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. Rachel Weisz. Hello.
Rachel Weisz, who looks completely different than she ever has in her life in that film. Like, right. I don't know whether it's the eyebrows or what it is.
Yeah, the eyebrows I think are a bit hate going.
But I didn't see The Mummy until I was I would have been late 20s, early 30s when I saw The Mummy for the first time. I don't know how I missed it. I just never watched it until really recently. But that flick works. Like it works like a charm. Like it still holds up to this day. So much fun. Like it's a modern day. I guess it's not really modern anymore. But for a time, it was like, oh, this is the next Indiana Jones film. Like this is what we need. It's great. And I'm so glad that he's making a comeback now.
Yeah, me too. I haven't seen the Mummy movie, the newer one with Tom Cruise. Apparently, it's not that great. I don't think I'm really gonna give it a watch.
That is a movie. I've talked about that film a lot on this show because it's not a bad film. Like it got raked over the coals when it came out, and I think unfairly so. Like it's not a bad movie. It's just very cookie cutter. Like it's exactly what you expect it to be. Like from those trailers, it doesn't do anything kind of interesting or unusual. And Tom Cruise is just trying to prove how young he is, even though he's not young.
Yeah.
I feel like he does that all the time.
And I don't mind in Mission Impossible; it works for that. But it's like this is a different character, and I think if your whole fear, like his fear, is being seen as old, isn't it more interesting that the guy who's afraid of dying is then given the opportunity to be immortal? Like there's a more interesting story to tell if you kind of lean into that more, which they don't do. But it's fine. Like Jake Johnson is doing his best, and he's quite entertaining to watch. It's not awful, but it's not the Brendan Fraser film. It's a completely different movie.
Yeah, right. Like you said, Tom Cruise is getting old. Like he's giving very deck chair vibes at this point.
I've never heard that phrase before, but I love it. Nice one. Those are some good honorable mentions and some solid lists. And we made it through the tech issues. I was like, we're not going to get through this.
I'm so glad because I was like,
me too, man.
Look, I don't think Andre will mind me saying it. He was so excited, and when we potentially would have had to stop and try again, his poor little face. It was so sad.
Well, I didn't want to either. I was like, I hope we can do it because I like to get an episode out on time. But obviously, I'm now at the point. I'm like, look, if it takes a few more days, that's fine. But I was like, we had such momentum at the start of the show. I was like, if this stops, we're gonna have to either redo that intro later as a different intro or try to recreate it. And I hate recreating, being like, oh, this is the first time we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
The vibe would be off.
Like, hey, do you remember Lord of the Rings? That was kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever talked about the music from Lord of the Rings before.
Yeah.
What a way to bring it home. That's a good close. We do have the Halloween rapid fire to go through quickly. You guys, as listeners, will know these questions already, so they shouldn't really surprise you. There's only a couple on there. And they're mainly monster focused. So Gabby and Andre, who is your favorite movie monster?
Well, for me, I already mentioned it, but I could go lean forward from Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc.
That's a cool monster. I like that one.
I will go with Count Dracula from Van Helsing.
Ooh.
That is an underrated flick.
I love that movie.
That should have been my honorable mention.
So much.
That's a movie that also gets a lot of hate, and it's
people hate it can go away, and they're not my friend.
The only criticism I have of that film is that the CGI is rough.
It is. But I mean, how old is it?
I mean, even for its time, the CGI was wrong.
Really, like, I mean, I just thought the concept was so cool, and like,
Yeah.
I loved the friar. He was so cute.
Yeah, it was great.
And all those vampire eggs gave me alien vibes. Like, it just
Yes.
reminded me of yeah. Like, there's some cool stuff with that. That's a cool monster. And Mike Wazowski obviously put that thing back where it came from. Also helped me.
Help me. Yep.
You can't go wrong with Billy Crystal. Nice one. All right. Well, we'll change gear a little bit, and just now I want to know your scariest movie monster.
Crap. Yeah, like look, I already mentioned it like at the start, but it had to be The Grudge for me. Because I just can't. I can't watch that movie again.
I have to watch that film now and see how terrifying it is.
Maybe it's because of how young I was.
That'll do it. Like, that'll absolutely do it.
But yeah, it definitely cemented my fear of elongated limbs and like long hair in front of someone's face, which is exactly the monster that Mama is, which is probably why it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, long limbs is a weird one, but I agree with you. Like, whenever I see something like unnaturally long limbs, I'm like, yep, that's gonna haunt me forever.
I would say, I had it and now it's gone.
Is it going to be like Count Chocula from like the breakfast cereal?
No.
So scary because he's stealing all of our chocolate.
Yep.
Right.
Like the Hamburglar.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That's who I see in my version of Mirrors.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Voldemort.
It's pretty scary.
He's scary.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely scary. And he's definitely.
Well, actually, same universe. Aragog. I hate spiders, and a big one like that would put me 7 feet under. I would dig my own grave.
I wasn't expecting a Harry Potter pool, but I like it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like spiders, like, he's probably like him and Shelob from Lord of the Rings play the two scariest spiders out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, even though they say, like, friends of Hagrid, yeah, well, I got to feed my kids, so too bad.
Yeah, and he has there's that line, I can't remember, I'm going to butcher it because I haven't read the book or seen the movie in such a long time, but it's like, how could I deny my children food that comes so willingly into our lair? It's like, Jesus Christ, you meant to, I don't know how many times I've invoked the Lord's name in vain this afternoon or this evening, but there's been a lot of spooky mentions, and that's a terrifying line.
Exactly.
Like that all the weeping angels from Doctor Who, they were terrifying.
Yes.
Absolutely terrifying.
Really creepy.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys are going a different way with this. Like, you're mentioning monsters that haven't been mentioned on the show yet. All right, we mentioned Freddy vs. Jason before. If we're doing a Freddy vs. Jason type film, which are the monsters you want to see fight?
Shit. Oh, that's cool. I'm trying not to pick somebody from my list.
Oh, I would like to see the monster or the beast from Split.
Oh, good pull.
Against that what's the snaky guy from Monsters Inc.? Randall, yeah.
That is the weirdest matchup, and I love it.
I think it would be entertaining because he's like slimy and slithery, but the beast is like fast, and he could be like, "Oh no, that was Patricia."
Only if one of his personalities is Roz.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love Roz.
I feel like every workplace has a Roz. And they, whoever is idea to put a Roz in that film, chef's kiss.
Yeah, that is a matchup I never thought I'd hear, but I like it. And good shout out to the Beast. That's a great character.
Thank you.
Look, I'm trying to nail it down, but I think Pennywise.
Good pull.
Going. Oh God, I've already forgotten it. Going up against.
What's the movie called?
I'm trying. I lost it.
What's it about?
No.
I just love that you just try so hard to help. You're like, just
No. No, damn it, I lost it. No, sorry, I screwed it.
that's okay. There's no wrong answers. Pennywise can fight himself. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a cool matchup. Damn.
That's okay. No problem. Like, some people don't even answer all the questions, so don't stress. Pennywise in any fight is still very, very cool. If you think of before the end, you let me know.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the last question. Now, obviously, as franchises go on, they get sillier and more ridiculous, and we often see monsters in space or in Hawaii or in the future. So I want to know, which monster do you want to see in one of those settings? Who are we shooting to space? Or are we shooting them to Hawaii, or we send them into the future? I threw a bunch of zombies in Hawaii. I thought that would be fun. That's what I did in my episode.
Oh, wait, sorry. I just remember.
Yes.
Sorry, Pennywise versus Ghost Rider. I actually
Yes, that is great. That's solid.
That's Nick Cage, right?
Hey?
Is that Nick Cage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Okay, cool. Fantastic. That's a good matchup. I would like to see that one.
Yes.
I would love to see a modern day Ghost Rider remake. Not that Nick Cage did like a bad job, but like I feel like he wasn't really that right for the character.
No, but that character's coming back. Like, we're going to see Ghost Rider in the next few years, I'm sure of it.
I hope so. But yeah.
That's a cool matchup. I'm glad you remembered.
Annabelle to Hawaii. Because I feel like that would just be weird.
No, I like it. And also, like, of those Conjuring films are so darkly lit. Like, not as
That's what I mean. Like, how are you going to make Hawaii scary? Like, it's beautiful. How do you make somewhere beautiful so scary? Like, I mean, to be fair, one of Andrea's movies said, like, they're going to Switzerland for a hike. Like, Switzerland, if you've ever been, where people would go for hikes, I'm assuming, like, in the mountains, it's gorgeous. So, like, it looks like a postcard. But I guess because it's a bit isolated, that helps with the scariness of it. But Hawaii, like, all the parts that I've seen of it, and I've never been, so I mean, parts on movies and, you know, TV shows, it just looks so, like, nice and sunny and summery and lovely. So
no, agreed. Absolutely.
Like, and I'm just like, also, where is it? What's that movie? Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like, Annabelle wouldn't be there.
Well, I mean, some would argue that Sarah Marshall was much like Annabelle, and she was a true monster.
Yeah.
That's a great flick as well. But no, I like that. I like Annabelle in Hawaii. I'm down with that. You got to bring us home now, Andre. No wrong answers.
Where are you sending your monster, and what monster is it? To
in the space, Hawaii, or the future?
Well, I'd like to see how the monster from Jeepers Creepers like to tie in like in the future, because I don't know how many stocks of cornfields that they'll have in like 3022.
Jeepers Creepers in like the world of Interstellar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's this thing walking around in a giant trench coat and a hat, like trying to pick up unwilling teenagers and like bring them back to what used to be a barnyard.
That's solid. I like it.
What's this old relic?
Are you talking about me?
No.
Solid joke. Nice one. That is it. You have survived the Halloween episode and the episode in general. Andre, your debut on the show, and obviously you'll be welcome back as many times as you want because you're a fantastic guest.
Yay!
We're all about making dreams come true here at the show.
It sounds like he's on like the Make-A-Wish.
I mean, you know, I am a big believer in Make-A-Wish, but if your wish is to go on my show, then just dream a bit bigger, guys. Like, anyone can get on this show. Fantastic. Well, thank you both for coming on. Did you have anything that you want to share or send out into the world before we wrap everything up?
Oh, I just wanted to share support of your American Friends fan movie.
Yeah, we do need to do that. We don't need to, but we're going to do that. So obviously, we had Harley and Tyler on a few weeks ago. Their campaign, their Indiegogo campaign, ends in a couple of days. I think it ends on November 1st, if I remember correctly. November 1st in the US, not in Australia. So you got a little bit more time to donate. So you can support them by following Scream the Fan Favorite on Instagram. You can follow Harley Bronwyn and Tyler Hance on Instagram as well. If you go to Indiegogo.com and just type in Scream the Fan Favorite, even $5 makes a huge difference. So please support them. They're very lovely and they're doing a really cool thing. They're making a movie, which is what we love on this show. So go give them a like, a support, and maybe a couple of bucks as well. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the show. Thank you again to both Gabby and Andre for coming on and talking about horror films. I had a lot of fun. And as I said, they're both welcome back anytime. But in the meantime, I want to remind you all that I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Hey.